Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the PCS here for summer. My name is Asterix, and I'm joined by the Honourable Clement Chu, the man, the myth, the legend here in the PCS, sponsored by CWC Bank. Thank you to Right Games, Carry Live, and Garena for the league operation and the full production here in our league. Now, Clement, it has been a while, and by that I mean since Sunday. You and I have been roundhousing PCS a little bit here in the past couple of weeks, and it feels like we're getting towards the tail end of the split, maybe because we are. This is our very last week of the split.
Absolutely. What a great way to just kind of drop me into the fray right here. We are heading on very close to the postseason. All the teams only play 18 games so far. This is the concluding week. And so far, we only have one team that is confirmed out of playoffs. So there's still a lot of positioning to play for. And we're
Yep.
basically looking at the magic number being 6 wins.
Oh, yeah. I mean, six is now deciding, as you said, Sem 9 are unfortunately out, will not be able to catch up. Dewey seem moments away from being in the same boat, right? Every win needs to come from them, and they also need to hope that the stars align too, with Impunity and Metafalcon team, as you said, being able to reach number 6 here today too. As we go through, remember that we also are starting a new week, Mr. Chu, and I've rarely been on here when we do, and I know we get to look at our pretty pog player from last time as well as we start looking towards our teams. I will say, though, before we go into our POG player, all I can say right now is the fact that we are bridging the gap between that bubble, that J team bubble that you always talk about with those three teams recreated.
Yeah, heading towards the last week, we are still very much in a top 4 type of situation. And we have to remember J Team has played 3 less games due to the COVID situation that they had last week. So they could realistically leapfrog some of the teams above of them. I think they're still coming in very strong. But, you know, where I'm still most interested in is those Frankie Sports Mega Beyond Gaming spots, because I think these teams are occasionally very competitive against the top of the board. And if they get better standing, you know, it's going to have massive implications later down.
I'm glad you mentioned Frank. You know I like talking about this team, and surely when we get to the Impunity game, second up, we'll bring them up yet again. And you also mentioned J-Team are back. If anyone's wondering, for week number 6 here with our Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, J-Team will be playing 6 individual games. 2, of course, across today as well, but we can talk about that in a little bit as well. Clement, it's time to talk about our top player from our penultimate week. And I think when we talk about our top players in the league, we look at these standy, flashy players, none other than Nesty this time around, who's just been clinical on helping DCG thrive.
Yeah, this has been absolutely massive. His week 5 stats were amazing. He played 3 different champions, only died twice, and gave his teams 3 wins to claim the top of the leaderboard here. And I think the most important thing to recognize is the way he played these games. He was roaming around with his jungler very often. The duo proximity was through the roof, 25%. That's every 4 seconds, there's 1 second he spends with Hana. Basically, is how you break down that stat. And he participated in 33% of the first bloods. So, you know, this is exactly what you expect of Nesty. He is kind of your roaming style of player. He's been around the map a lot. And, you know, he's playing a lot of things like the Galio, like the Talia. I think this is a great meta for him. He's really taking a lot of people off by surprise. And I think most PCS viewers would not assume that DCG would be our top team, judging by their roster. But here they are, and it's due to Nesty.
Especially judging by how DCG played Spring. They were this crazy drafting team that always pulled a rabbit out of the hat. I feel like for DCG, Clement, especially in the CFO game that meant so much for the standings, we got a pretty standard, pretty relevant 12-13 draft.
A very well executed pick sort of composition, really fast rotations, and we also saw just the you know, the power of Nesty against some of our more lane dominant players. Mission is always someone that's been known to kind of hang back, dominate the lane, and Nesty can take advantage of that. So if you extrapolate that and bring it into a lot of different matchups where, you know, we have a lot of these mid lane players, I would say Pretender, I would say Corey are very similar in that style where they do tend to stick around in lane a lot more often than your LPL counterparts, then I feel like Nesty has that way to take advantage.
I think he's on point, and, you know, as you said, Talia 4-0 at the moment with a pick. It's going to be a big one as we see Deep Cross Gaming yet again today. For DCG, not facing any, I'm just looking at their schedule. Beyond Gaming, actually a decent one as we start looking at what's coming through in our massive 6-game day. I was going to say, oh, not a big day for them. It could be, Beyond Gaming still on the outskirts, still secured in playoffs, but still that team that we have seen, better than the rest, right, Clement? They are kind of the mid-barrier right now, sitting under Frank Esports, surprisingly enough.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think for today's matches, the most important one is going to be who gets into our playoffs. And that will be decided if Meta Falcon team snags any of these 1 wins here. So if they can beat PSG, if they can beat Taipei J team, that takes them to 6 wins, and they are out of reach from Duish team. And also on the flip side, Duish team need to win every single one of their remaining games here. So I think that's going to be the biggest story today if our playoff is actually solidified.
And then hope that Impunity and Meta Falcon team don't win another game, right? They have to hope that it all fails for Impunity and Meta Falcon team. And of course, one of them could be okay, as Impunity versus MFT is one of the last games on the game day, on the Sunday, Saturday. I'll get there eventually, Clement. But still, it's so hard. Like, explaining this is hard. Imagine how hard it is for Duish team. However, we have to start off because it is the return of J team. And, going up against MFT, Mr. Chu, we have not seen J team for about a week. And Meta Falcon team are going to have, I guess, a little bit of a leg up, considering that they've been the team that's been playing in the PCS the last week and have adjusted to 12-13 on the live patch.
Absolutely. I think for a lot of teams, when they have to play, double games in a day and they haven't played for the previous week, we've seen this a couple times during the COVID situation. Teams typically come in a little bit rusty, not going to lie. Yeah. So I think MFT, today they're also bringing back Home 2. They ran when last time against Sen9. Good results, but in my personal opinion, I think Home 2 is still the decidedly stronger player, better champion pool, more consistent performance. So I like that they're bringing I'm not going to count them out yet. Of course, the biggest hurdle for them is still going to be that early game that we saw so many times before. J team absolutely smashing it in the early game. Meta Falcon team a little bit more sluggish.
Was it bottom lane last time we're criticizing Clement? Like, the early game will whale an issue in their laning phase?
Yeah, it was. I think, unfortunately for this team, they are still very much stuck on kind of a 4-1 style where they give Taco super late game champions and hope he will carry.
Okay, well, look, I'll be looking at that bottom lane, as you said, because J team are coming back on the Rift, and it's names you like, but Rock is going to be starting up in the top lane here. Was playing just before they left as well, and remembering that Rock has played the majority with Driver only 4 individual games, Clement, so they want to stick with Rock here this split, and we know he's been playing things like the GP as well. Makes sense when Uniboy and Kongyue have been the focus of this team for the good majority of the split.
Yeah, and I think Rock is playing a very different style than what he usually does. He's been known to be kind of this boisterous guy that tries to play some fighters at times, but this split overall, I think he's been very quiet in terms of the champion pool. It's mainly about supporting the rest of the team and just getting those initiations off. So I would say Rock is playing a very similar role to what I would assume out of Leaky. And on the other hand, you have Taco, who is basically trying to play the Messiah, as you can tell from his champion pool.
and struggling at it, because we know for Meta Falcon team, they're a team that's only just bridging by. MFT, I think it's been a difficult split to watch because we saw the potential, but the wins have scraped across Clement, like Duish team, Sam9. When was their last win against a big team? Impunity, but would you count that as a big win? I'm going back through, and they've never taken a win off of a team that is in that top 4 bubble we talk about. So here for J team, a team we are assuming with 6 games left to play in the split, that they will be one of those teams. Welcome back to Summoner's Rift for JT as they sit on the red side. Clement, Meta Falcon team on blue. We are still on 12-13, and what have we learned so far, Mr. Chu? What did you learn last week?
I learned, at least from the last time we saw J-Team, that Twitch Yumi doesn't always work out as a good counter against Zeri. So J-Team, last time we saw them, they actually dropped the game, played a very unorthodox ban pick, and this time around, even against MFT that is not known for their Zeri, they're just going, you know what? Twitch didn't really work out, let's just first ban the Zeri, play it safe.
And I like Renata's response, right? I think when you and I were casting last week, we saw a lot of Yumi first pick. We saw a lot of Aphelios priority there too. We also got like the Talia, which is banned away. The Lucian actually taken away from Lil V and N. So a lot of bottom lane bans here so far affecting the duo. Makes me wonder if we're just left with that Aphelios or the Yumi I mentioned before, Clement.
I will say that Lil V actually is an old-time Sivir player here, and the ban so far actually makes Sivir's life quite easy. Lucian, the primary counter we see most of the time, is gone. So is Kalista. So I think the Sivir priority is actually through the roof. Let's see if MFT take it first.
Maybe that's the reason why they wanted to give themselves that first pick, Sivir. And as they lock it in here, Clement, J-Team, do you just take away things like the Yuumi that pair with it, or do you go a completely different direction?
This is really interesting. I actually feel like J-Team can afford to play more aggressive bottom lanes. You know, stuff like the Samira, stuff like the Draven that we've sometimes seen. Little V actually has played those in the past, but, you know, I think I spoke too early. J-Team, it looks like they're dead set on making sure that the playoffs are set, and they're going to play the most standard J-Team comp.
Oh, Clement, such a shame we don't get Twitch Yuumi then. I can tell by the tone of your voice you're looking forward to it.
I was looking for something aggressive, but no, we're not going to get it.
Yeah, no, hey, dude, that's fine. As you know, that sarcasm means it's fine. Style's going to be locked in on the other side. Meta Falcon team still getting big power picks in the meta. I kind of wonder about jungle here, Clement. Usually with Wukong, it is a Viego response.
Yeah, we have seen Viegos do quite well here. I will say for MFT, it looks like they're doing a rundown strategy here. They have the On the Hunt and the melee coming in from the mid laner Hong2 and Silas. So I feel like this is going to be a catch reset composition. You call it Viego absolute right here. And this is something that MFT actually plays very well. So I expect J-Team to try and look for a little bit more counter engage. A Zero would be a great option here. Emperor's Divide definitely can slow things down.
Yeah, got a lot of CC coming through as well. Back on your point about Meta Falcon team, I love that you use the word reset. Sivir now, with that ultimate, is reset dependent. So every time you get the autos and the fact that it keeps on going with kills and assists. Gotta love it here for Meta Falcon team as we start seeing some of the engage taken away, Clement. The Yuumi's still not looked at. It starts with the Nautilus here for issue.
Absolutely, and I think we have been taught over the past week that a lot of these teams that are higher on the standings, they tend to draft compositions that are too safe, and the enemy runs them over with the newfound Sivir power. We saw that in the BCG matchups. We saw that with PSG falling down last week as well. So I like that J-Team are taking away a lot of the engages, but I still want to emphasize, I think teams these days, they have to have good, at least one winning lane to contest the Herald, to contest the Drake. I feel like you're putting yourself in too much danger by not having a strong lane. So I actually think Rock is going to shift up tax here. I don't think Rock is just going to slam a Sejuani or a GP and call it a day. I feel like that would make J-Team's life a little bit too hard.
True. I mean, when you talk about how top side looks like a priority for Taco, that's going to be the support coming in here for Enzo, getting priority when it's a quadruple support ban, by the way, in the second ban phase. So Issue has limited options here, Clement.
Yeah, and looking around at the champion pool, I think the most played champion still not banned is probably going to be something like a Leona, which is still fine in lane, pretty strong for engage here. And I have to say, I think MFT banned quite well here. You know, they're taking away all the defensive options in the Lulu and the Tom Kent. J-Team getting away all the offensive options here. And it is going to be that Leona being taken. MFT, you know, I think Sejuani would work here. They just want engage, power to push through chokes and run at people. So Sejuani would be great. The big question is, does Rock go back to the champions that, you know, he's played a lot in the past? This guy played a lot of Aatrox in the past. You know, he has that fighter streak in him. Or is he going to go with something like the Gnar? I think GP's fine. I'll just say it here. GP would not be my favorite pick here. I think it's a little bit too passive. When slightly better, but still very, very slow.
True. Slow top lane. Scaling though, Clement. J-Team just opted for 3 very good scaling lanes. While for Meta Falcon team, you know, you set up the engage there perfectly. There is a lot of setup, a lot of skirmishing potential. Kind of polar opposite by the way we're looking.
Yeah, and I will want to mention that this recon will be played very differently from other recons we've seen. Great engage and a lot of crowd control can also mean great counter engage. So I feel like the way this recon is going to be played is to hang around these objectives and to reset the fight if MFT charges at them. It's not going to be a very proactive recon, judging by the compositions.
Which is kind of a first, right? Walk me through the other lanes, though, because Gwen in the top side, as you said, it's not a massive counterpunch. It's not the old Rock style. It's very much like that GP feeling where you are just trying to get up to the point where you can split push sides and scale up.
Absolutely. What we've seen so far is the Gwen actually having a bit of trouble in the laning phase itself
Mm.
versus the Sejuani. You know, her early game was nerfed after 12.13b. And just looking at this draft, I would say JT is playing it incredibly safe. But
Yeah.
judging by the past week of games here, I'm a little bit worried for them. You look at this composition, I don't think it's supposed to win mid-game team fights. So there is a chance for MFT to just snowball and stomp them.
Looking for them to snowball and stomp them. That's the checklist here. Because we have the Silas coming through the Sipper, right? Viego still seen as a powerful pick. And for MFT, this is what we talked about coming into this game, that J-Team had been away due to COVID for a solid week. And since then, we've moved on to 12-13. Now, of course, you expect this team to be scrimming and keeping up to date, but Meta Falcon team have been in it. They're this team that are still looking towards their playoff win for today. If they find this win against J-Team, not only will they stifle the momentum of J-Team coming back in, but they will be able to lock in their playoff spot as well, keep themselves safe, and look at that summer playoffs picture as well. Welcome back to the PCS here for the final week. It's week number 6. The PCS has 2 spots left remaining with 3 teams holding the potential. Now, Clement, as we're stuck here, I'm going to assume we're not getting into game just yet. That's a little bit too long for my liking. I think J-Team have said, hang on a minute. We wanted something like an Urgot top at Aatrox. We mispicked. Let's go back to draft. We're very sorry.
I would love to see something that aggressive coming out from Rock. I think this split has felt very un-Rock-ish. You know, he's kind of usually been very flamboyant in terms of the way he acts in front of the camera. You know, he kind of throws BM around, kind of laughs at his opponents and stuff like that. But this split, he's been super serious. And, you know, I think there's probably a good reason, because he is contending for that starting spot against Driver, who's also been very successful.
I mean, he's been successful in putting his point across, right? Because Rock so far has played 9 games, including this one. Driver with 4. So at the moment, you know, Rock is someone who we look with high respect with champions like his GPs, you brought up, even the Gragas top. We bring out his first game of the Gwen up in this top side. And before we were lingering there for a little bit, Clement, you were talking a bit about this composition, right? Like, you're not even sure if it wins the mid game. Run me through how J-Team progress in this game when we know they do have a lot of scaling in it.
Absolutely. If you look at their comp, their biggest strengths is just the range that they have and the scaling coming from Aphelios and the Azir. So if this composition gets 35, they get to control terrain and sit on objectives first, I think it's going to be impossible for MFT to dislodge them. The problem I have is, if you look at the bottom skirmishes, there's just so much more hard crowd control on MFT. I think they can make skirmishes and catches work so much more, and that just means J-Team has to cede a lot of ground when it comes to these mid-game objectives. There could be a scenario where, you know, late-game scaling carries like the Azir or the Aphelios don't have a safe way to farm, so I definitely think this is one of those riskier compositions. But just going through the lanes again, Azir not really going to have much trouble against the Silas early on. Top lane's kind of a wash, so I do expect most of the attention to be coming from this bottom side.
Which is already starting off as you'd expect. I mean, this speed patches now. Both looking for the level 2 edges. Junglers going the opposite way is worth mentioning. Kongyue going top, and 665 is heading towards bottom lane Clement. And so far, they do know that Meta Falcon team are pathing this way, because Rock put his face into the blue buff, saw that the jungler was there, and now J-Team know.
Yeah, so J-Team definitely going to play defensive in their bottom side here. I do want to point out there is that Glacial Augment on the side of Issue, so they're very clearly looking to accelerate this bottom lane and take over the reins from there. I think this is a pretty good way to draft for MFT. It really reminds me a bit of the way Jewish Team has found their wins, which is, yes, we don't have the strongest bottom lane, but we're going to pick a very, very strong counter combination and gank it nonstop.
I mean, Silas Viego as well. You think about how that is as a 2v2 duo. Clement, Hong's ultis this game as well. It's worth mentioning right now that Enso is one of the best. Quickness on Silas is pretty insane. As well, you've got so many utility ultimates there as well. It feels really nice here for a Hong 2 game if he's successful in at that level 6 point, getting out of the lane and start making the skirmishes happen.
I'll say that even just needlework getting it from Rock could devastate the backline if he needs a little bit of extra damage. So
Yeah.
there's so much that Hongtu could do, and I would say this is also Hongtu's best champion. When he's not on this, he's typically playing something much slower, like the control mages. This is definitely his most dangerous and most banned pick.
We're just waiting for this gank though, aren't we? You can see Uniboy, the way pushing up against him, not much that 665 can do. And I like that little play, skirting around the outside of vision. And 665 was not spotted out, and right now, J-Team are putting down missing pings. They're like, hang on a minute, where is this jungler? Our water's expired, he hasn't walked past it. And 665's going towards the top side. This is a pretty good early game from the Viego.
Yeah, but I do want to point out that Viego decided not to show, and we have Uniboy. Oh, Taco?
Yeah. Go on, Clement, precariously.
It was a little bit close for comfort, but we saw Uniboy able to freeze the wave quite comfortably. And that does mean that this Silas is going to have to play rather safe, as we see if Taco can get the bait here.
Hello. Okay, is it too late? Well, Ghost is used by Rock, and 665 just spotted, and Leaves taking the summon.
Yeah, nothing happening right here. I think Rock was very well aware of that position. We also saw J-Team just pinging out the Gromp as well. Are they going to die this?
Well, they have melee damage, but Gwen presses W now with an Arctic Assault. 665 holding the line. Ignite down, but it doesn't kill him. Minions try, he flushes back in. 665 survives Clement, and you know what? That turns into a good play. I don't care what anyone says.
Yeah, that was absolutely huge. I was very surprised that Rock actually left himself in a position to get hit by the first W right there. He honestly could have just gone behind the tower, and I felt like he would have been rather fine there. But 665 does manage to catch Rock off guard after he knows that the Ghost is already down. Just goes straight for it. Well executed.
And you got to appreciate the energy from 665. He just walks at him.
Yeah.
Doesn't step backwards, doesn't like try to be like, I could be bluffing. Rock thought, there's no way he's going to dive a Gwen. But 665 just kept going, and First Blood means Sheen. First Blood also means that some of the pressure alleviated is an all-in from issue in the bottom side. This Leona don't take too much. We get ulti for ulti in the mid lane. Soldiers are out, but 665 is just taking names at the moment. 2-0 start.
Great stuff from him. Just judging by the position here, it does look like Hongtu was able to take the Emperor's Divide for himself and put Uniboy in a very bad position. I believe he also took a tower shot from that. And this is going to be fun because, I'll be honest, in our recent games, we have not seen a fed Viego. The typical Viego build has been just to go for the chainsaw, get that stats coefficient up. But this is a snowballed Viego doing things early, which I think changes a lot of the dynamics. The sort of snowball and stomp is already on its way.
Takes over games. You already talked about the skirmishing and how important these early neutrals will be, Clement. With a fed Viego, it makes life so much easier for Meta Falcon team.
Absolutely. Just the damage that he can do himself on the target is going to be very, very much... it's going to be hard for J-Team, so I feel like J-Team are pushed even further back in their game plan. I expect MFT to be able to handle both the Heralds in this game, and it's just about what J-Team decide to trade back to it. I feel like J-Team, they might be putting more of their eggs into the Little V basket, and my guess from them is that they're going to leave Little V in the bottom lane to just farm it up when MFT do head for that Herald.
Well, they're going for Dragon first because Whale just gets the push. It's Sivir, remember, and it's not 12-14 yet. In LPL Clement, we went to 12-14 the other day. Sivir nerfs on W, which is so fair. I think as well, Kempunk Chainsaw down in gold efficiency, but 12-13, right? Sivir still does annoying stuff even this early in the game, and it means the first Dragon goes to Meta Falcon team. It means that 665 gets to play another lane, and with Uniboy's ulti just about being up, 665 just going to channel himself past this lane and go towards that Herald you mentioned.
And J-Team are not reacting to it whatsoever. The top lane is coming down, but you have to remember Rock is actually down a buy compared to Taco from the other side. Don't expect him to be contesting this one. At most, Kongyo tries to get a steal. He does have his flash up, so he could try for that, but I don't think they're going to do a full-on engage here.
Well, you might be wrong, Clement, because, hey, Rock just says, how you going? Cyclone is coming through.
Ooh.
It's a three-man shuffle, but get who splashes over. Pong gets the trade kill as he dies himself as J-Team are now melee range, but look who's still alive. 665 went all in as Taco wants to assault J-Team further. A permafrost for an auto, but Taco eventually getting it. Doesn't mean too much here. Meta Falcon team are forced off the objective for now, but it's top laner for mid laner, and MFT still getting blood.
Yeah, and if I'm MFT, looking at that one, I would say I'm actually somewhat fine with the result. I can just restart that fight once more. I got the flash down from Kongre here too. Though I will say I didn't expect MFT to pull the trigger just that. They gave Uniboy a 4-man Emperor's Divide, which meant that J-Team was able to stave off that attack right there. I really expected them to wait for this fight to come a little bit further in. They went on Rock, which is very hard to burst down in the initial salvo. Also has to flash over the Emperor's Divide, so you know, I felt like MFT could have actually played this fight quite a bit better, but they're going to get another chance at it anyway.
As you said, you know, started up again. J-Team have a ward on it, but you pointed out Kongyue's flash. I'll also point out that Rock used the needlework in the last trade as well. Looks like that has another 25 seconds if he wants to join in. Does J-Team head up there? And you can see, actually, 665, Clement, not really interested in it. Wants to go to his bottom side camps first, and it's a Kempung Chainsword versus only components for 665, so Kongyue confident enough to just go start this himself.
Yeah, big turnaround here for J-Team, and looking at the map, the support is also in position first here. We have both of them hitting level 6, really important for the supports to just leech off of mid-game EXP here, and we are going to get another engage, this time with more ults.
Taco has it available, but Uniboy goes in, slide and glide again. Emperor's Divide means Meta Falcon team is split, but Rock's still dying, and Herald actually going over to Kongyue from the looks of it. His smite secures his Meta Falcon team now zone out. It is once again a kill onto Rock, by the way, as Whale comes in to poke, but J-Team, no, they're not getting anywhere near this eye. Don't do it. Enzo, don't do it. Enzo, no. Okay, it's gone, and J-Team now have to live with the consequence.
Yeah, that's, I will say overall that these developments where you see J-Team being able to hold on to objectives actually does favor them in the grand scheme of things. Yes, the gold lead is going over to MFT, and I think this Gwen pick is going to prove quite problematic with just how far she is behind at this point. But they managed to stop MFT from really taking over a big engage right there. I feel like MFT was slightly out of position, and like you mentioned, you know, I still feel like if they were grouped up and positioned, they had I would say they had almost a 70-30 in that sort of team fight situation. Yeah. But J-Team able to get to the spots first, able to get another good Emperor survive from Uniboy, and they just stop MFT in their tracks from, you know, snowballing this game further.
And it's kind of a concern, right? Because for Meta Falcon team, it's the early jungle that's really taken over. Or so we thought. The fact that J-Team were at least able to contest the Herald. And Clement, I think the win there is, as we see a bit of grouping up towards the bottom side, is the fact that Meta Falcon team didn't get the Herald to push this lead further and make this early game blow out of control.
Absolutely here. And I would say that MFT are very much on the cusp of making that happen, but not getting the Herald definitely will slow them down. Again, I don't see J-Team really contesting this next Drake within 20 seconds right here. They would be really pushing their luck if they do decide to go for this one. And MFT also brought Taco here first, so this could be a 5v4 to start things off.
She's going to be spotted out, but the center blade still connecting here on the Kongyue, who doesn't have flash available, but his Cyclone in the choke's going to do a lot of work. As poke from Lil V with a 3-man ulti. Meanwhile, look at the mid laners battle it out. Pong 2 versus Uniboy. Pong wins it out. And Meta Falcon team now chasing up with 3 set central. This is what we said about the compass. He sniffed to death. Rock somehow getting an advantage back. And now with the Kingslayer, Chain Slash almost kills him.
Out.
Little V doesn't have Calibrum, so yes, he will escape while Meta Falcon team get their fight that we've been logging for.
Great move from Taco to preemptively get to the fight first, and I have to be honest, I just feel like JT learned the wrong lesson from their previous 2 Herald fights. They were like, oh, we can actually take this, we're just probably better players, and they walk themselves into a death trap. I just feel like J-Team, no real reason to contest on the second Drake there. Their composition gets chased down easily, and there's also a Fed Viego on the enemy team there. So we're going to watch Hong2 Heroics. Uniboy definitely could have changed this. He took half HP from Hong2 already, but Hong2 with half HP down still manages to get the Emperor's Divide, win the duel, get the flash, and then complete a tower dive. What can this man fail at? This is amazing.
Oh, God, meanwhile, Rock gets a trade. I mean, I still hate Gwen, but, Hong2 getting so many resources off that, Clement. As you said, the flash is trading up, but 3 kills now here for the mid laner. A bounty well placed on his head as 665 also picked up a double in the last trade. We have 7 out of the 8 Meta Falcon team kills on this mid jungle. What a time to be alive when you consider that one item on both these champions is where it only just begins.
We're seeing so many factors work against J-Team. I feel like the rust is coming in. I feel like the hubris is coming in. They honestly just have a 35-minute composition. They didn't really need to contest that one at all. I just feel like it was so risky without much gain, and now the snowball is off. MFT are just gonna lose their silence. Viego can just walk into Kongryu's jungle at this point. Can definitely outduel him, and these silence are gonna feel the hurt because of that.
And look, I mean, Rock paying respect right now for Meta Falcon team. No enemy vision to spot out where 665 goes next. Uniboy burnt the flash as you highlighted in that last replay. Rocky might have the ulti, but 665 was willing to dive at level 4. What do you think he's willing to do now?
Oh, he's just going to escort Rock out of here. He could probably win the solo for sure. And he flashes the S.
I didn't even know that was an emote. I didn't know the Samira S rank was an emote. That's cool. Right, games get more innovative. But hey, first Hour of Blood comes off the back of it as well. We're now closer to 3K margin with Double Dragon for Meta Falcon team. A Herald spawning as well. He might be down in CS in his own jungle, but 665 is going to be on that second item in that next back quite easily.
Yeah, and if you look at the Herald coming up here, it's 40 seconds, and there's a good time separation between that and the Drake. So MFT's next couple of game plans are incredibly easy. And you can see, I think this is the correct move from J-Team. They finally learned that, hey, we're the laning composition. All we need to do on the map is trade away objectives. So they're already setting up for the bot lane here. They're likely going to get this one. And I think MFT, they just stick to the objective game on the other side, the neutral objective game. Excuse me.
Because you're going to have to fight at one point, right? 2 minutes till that next dragon as J-Team are sending all 5 members, 4, down to this bottom side red buff. Atako pulls it away and J-Team back off, while you saw on the top side, 665 was waiting for Rock to overstay. Clement, while Kongyo was stealing away camps, 665 was sitting in brush and is still at 88, 92 now as he picked up Scuttle Crab. He might be picking up this Herald, but I have some kind of concern that if Meta Falcon team don't get anything done over the next 10 minutes, for J-Team getting that time as you talked about is going to be easier said.
Yeah, I think it's almost impossible that they're not going to get something done. At the very least, they should be able to take down mid tower with that Herald, and they should be able to just take away the next Mountain Drake here. I don't even feel like J-Team is going to contest them all that hard on it. J-Team are pretty much in buckle down, and let's just farm it out mode. The problem here for, I think, J-Team about keeping the map steady is they don't really have anyone to match Sylas in lane at this point. The Sylas is extremely fed. And also they're losing both of their side lane towers, so it's very easy for someone like Sivir to just push mid and then transition to catch people off. So holding on for J-Team really is quite difficult here. I feel like in the next 5 to 10 minutes, we're going to see that bot lane tower go down. We're going to see that Drake objective go over, and that's a good case scenario for J-Team. The worst case scenario for J-Team is they try to snipe off a Drake and actually get caught red-handed right around this river.
I mean, it's a vision that J-Team have been holding on to for now, but that's getting cleansed out. As soon as Meta Falcon team spot them out, as you said, the pick's so great with Leona, Sejuani, Viego. There's so much follow-up CC on this team as Herald's going to get placed mid with 5 seconds to Dragon, and it's going to force J-Team to back off, it seems, but they're still holding strong, Clement. They want to do this. Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, Flash,
Oh,
Uniboy misses, Lil B misses, and Rock is like, why am I here? As Issue goes down, it's going to be a bit of a trade as we now get that chase up. Rock floats the dying permafrost, and that means the 665 a reset, but he goes down on the back end. Lil B flashes out from Hong 2 as Enzo almost dies. Hong 2 now with an ulti of his own. Back to his team, Everfrost, chain lash, Hong 2, more like Hong 4 as he takes down the whole squad.
Oh boy, what the best game from Home 2 we have seen so far. I did not expect that secondary explosion to actually kill Uniboy. I don't think Uniboy saw that either. You know, he was still holding on to his flash. And Home 2 with a rarely seen smirk coming across his face right there. So, you know, we have to start from the top here, break down that play. I do feel like the Herald was a little bit too early here. It doesn't actually draw away that many members. But J-Team go for an engage before Home 2 can join. They think they have the 5v4. Unfortunately, they only get one target here. And the most critical thing is that 665 actually survives out of the initial burst. So he is able to turn this around. They're all low HP, and then we get the Home 2 show as he goes in, gets the tower dive, and watch this chain ledge. Oh, Uniboy, he overthinks it. He turns around.
Dude, and as well, Clement, he walked back into range and was like, I can clear the wave. Hong 2's given the ult that kills Lil B, and it's so funny that it also kills Uniboy as well, with him getting back into range. But J-Team, it is like dominoes falling with 5,000 gold against them. The third Dragon, Clement, that we talked about them not... You shouldn't contest this, you said.
Yeah.
J-Team, wait for Soul, like, give yourself a bit more time. J-Team didn't listen to you. They contested it. Now they're up the creek without a paddle.
The play there was very obvious from J-Team. MFT actually put the Herald in a terrible position. So what you should have done there as J-Team is that you just snipe out the Herald and you let the enemy team take trade. I feel like that's the most reasonable course of action. Instead, J-Team actually dumped a ton of ultimates into 665. And 665 just got out scot-free with his Heartbreaker. And yeah, I think he let J-Team heartbroken. You know, he really just broke their ankles there. And again, I feel like J-Team are playing a little bit too greedy with his composition. They're not really giving MFT the due respect.
As we talked about, you know, Clement, if I looked at this, I'd be like, maybe this is like a 12-10 comp, 12-9. I don't know, like, you know, Gwen, Azir, Aphelios, we're getting kind of flashbacks here while Meta Falcon team having a really good read on 12-13 and having a really good read considering they played in the last week for their playoff lock-in game. Doing well against J-Team as Kongyue is going to be spotted here, but he's going to get stunned up. That's only the clone, but still forced out of his own jungle. While Meta Falcon team are hovering around this Baron, choking out Vision. They've just got to get rid of those couple of wards, though, that J-Team have behind enemy lines, and then they're gold.
So what I think the game plan for J-Team now, it does have to shift up. I think the way that J-Team prevents a full-scale fight from happening is actually trying to pick off someone first. If they can use Enzo, you know, just take out Issue before the rest of the team arrives, then, you know, they can set the timer back further, give them a little bit more time to scale up. So it's counterintuitive, but a lot of times in these situations, I don't actually advise teams to play completely passive. When you're this far behind, you almost have to look for these, you know, fringe case scenarios, try to skirt around the enemy composition, rather than let MFT just run out the timers until big objective fights.
Because let's be real, like, Sivir as well, you know, there's a lot of scaling potential on this team. And I know we talked about being a 35-minute comp for J-Team.
Yeah.
But it's not like you and I haven't cast on Sunday, in fact, a very big Sivir game. Like, it didn't matter about comp. Oh, Sivir's got 6 items. Oh my god, look at the ricochets. It was insane.
True, and this is why Sivir definitely deserves a nerf in the next patch. We have seen games where, like, just the top lane's going bad, the mid lane's going bad, and then you hit the 35-minute mark and Sivir cleans up your entire backline.
It's, even more late game Sivir than we were before. Like, Ricochet's kind of nuts, and, you know, we said it before, it's a reset. So even if we get to late game, I still worry, as you said, if J-Team just rest on their laurels, okay, we're doing bare minimum. Meta Falcon team still have their pick potential that we talked about and the reset ability that comes with Viego, with Siva, and all the CC that follows up too. So, yeah, Clement, I think this is a really good game to show that Meta Falcon team are deserving of getting a playoff spot, but I want to see what happens next because Dragon's coming up in a minute 20. We have that Baron that has been completely choked out, and Meta Falcon team right now controlling River with pretty much 100% certain.
Absolutely here, and you can tell a big problem for J-Team is this Gwen pick still isn't online. We have Taco so fed that he's actually just able to push back Rock in his own lane, and that means that they're not going to get a good advantage to come into this fight. MFT also doing a great job at clearing all of the vision here. There are no flank spots for Gwen to come into this one. So at the best, like, Gwen's going to be 6 seconds late. And I do want to talk about kind of the macro kind of sense in this type of game. The reason why I say that J-Team have to play a little bit more risky now is because they played too risky early. They actually played too risky early, got caught off, gave MFT a huge lead. If they just stepped off of the third Drake and not given over 2 towers plus 4 kills, they could, they would be within striking distance to kind of play a slow scaling game. But now because they're this far behind, they actually need to look for opportunities to kind of catch someone out.
Oh, and they're walking in. I mean, this is going to be rough. Into no vision. Rock is already 1 and 5 as we do get the quickness coming through. At least they're going to find issue on the back line. Kongyu are getting a good engage as well, as Hong 2 wasn't here. One of the strongest members not there, as Kongyu is fighting fire with fire. But look who's still alive. Can they 2v4 is now the new question, as Meta Falcon team had so much that should have given them that fight on a platter.
Absolutely here, and I think the big problem is Hong2 actually just TP'd in super late. He showed on the top side and still just hanged around as J-Team waltzed into the river here. I feel like MFT actually reacted to this quite poorly.
Hong's on a ward. They know he's coming as well. They can turn this around.
They
let him get the Emperor survive, but Lil B flashing away. Everfrost anyway. Rock runs on in, and 65 is trying just for the steal. Taco is a frontline stand for Uniboy. Gets the easy ultimate, and Meta Falcon team, it's all just gone wrong in a matter of moments.
The boldness I was calling for J-Team comes out right there. They see Hong2 on the top side. They just straight beeline walk into the brush, and honestly, that move just caught MFT completely off guard. They thought they could still deal enough damage as a 4v5, and that was not the case. They get beaten back, and the timer gets reset here. They have to wait another 5 minutes for the chance at that Mount Zone.
And we're getting towards that 35 magic number as we look again. Clement, as you said, the TP, and look how far away it is.
Yeah, I just don't think that MFT communicated this very well.
What?
They likely knew that the 5-man was coming, so honestly, all MFT had to do was walk back a little, wait for the TP to finish, and just take the soul.
Yeah.
But I feel like they had a split decision here where they wanted to punish the face check, but at the same time also just playing a 4v5. This was still very dicey, but J-Team with great ward coverage across both ramps. They deny Hong2 the potential to get that all-in flank right here. As we can see, 665 also runs out of the W to try and find the snipe. This was pretty hairy. Honestly, a little bit not in a great position. Burns both summoners, but it still turns out.
I mean, the fact that he gets caught, Uniboy with a nice shuffle at the end too. The fact that Lil B gets caught, like, Enzo is the support, like, dude, I just put those 2 wards down just for you.
Yeah.
What the hell? J-Team are back, though. It's 2,500 gold for Meta Falcon team, but as the captain analyst in this broadcast said, we are looking towards this late game scaling team, and look at Lil B, 3 items down the Aphelios. We also have the 3rd building up here for Rock, who has had a really rough game, but is still a Gwen with an ult button in 12-13. So we are looking at J-Team, who, as you said, left the timer on that dragon and now can come out into the map, actually pick up some resources. And I don't know, Clement, I'm a little bit sketchy on what Meta Falcon team do now.
Ooh, the tables definitely have sort of shifted around here. I feel like with the Infinity Edge, you have to say that Aphelios probably does more damage at this point in the game. So it is going to force, I think, Hong2 to actually go into the back line.
Oh, he misses and he flashes away. Good glacial prison from Taco as the range from Whale doesn't mean rush, but look at Rock. Needlework, he's still behind as they run into a Moonlight Vigil. It's over before it's even begun. Rock's going to help clean this one up as Taco slows him down, but in he rolls once again. Needlework, Moonlight Vigil, Emperor's Divide. I think Meta Falcon team were just asking to die.
Yeah, MFT really headstrong in that fight. They just kept going into a choke, into a Fed of Felios, and I don't think they realized that how close the gold actually is. Now J-Team has the Baron plus the gold lead. What I was just talking about right before the fight was right now J-Team actually does more backline damage. So MFT, they have to go for the backline themselves, and that means you have to pay attention to terrain. You cannot force yourself through chokes against this team. That is absolute suicide here. Little B does a good job at baiting the enemy team in. Look at how bad the positioning is. MFT keep on going in. No, you can't go in that situation. What are you doing? No.
They're like, hey, we got the Sivir, it's okay. But, I mean, again, what we saw in the last fight, Clement, is that for MFT, there's always one member who's disconnected or not with the fight. Even if we saw a full 5-on-5, maybe Whale gets his W, maybe the Sivir actually gets the spreading right as we're looking to start it again. And you can see Meta Falcon team are just looking desperately at finding a pick, but it's J-Team now with the gold lead. It's J-Team who have a minute 10 to prep for this next dragon. And even though we saw all those ults come down, you look on the other side with summoners like Hong2, with Taco's TP, with Issue burning Ignite. At least he's still got the flash, but I'm worried the fact that J-Team will have their ults yet again for this next upcoming fight.
True, and I think MFT, they had this game in the bag. I'll be completely honest. From the early game, they really had this one in the bag. But the last couple of fights, I don't think they were too aware of their situation. This is no longer a situation where you can run at the enemy team and just think you're going to win. Because the enemy team actually out-damages you right now. So what MFT have to look for are those instant snipe offs. They need Hong2 in the backline at the start of the fight to close this down. So I'm not sure if MFT do have the deftness to pull this off. They haven't shown it so far in this game, if I'm being completely honest. Let's see if Hong2 gets the flank of his life.
Think about all the tools to be used as they are pursuing this dragon angle. Enso's up top while Lil V and Uniboy through mid, and Rock going to take a boomerang play, but it starts off Kongyue's angle. Absolutely fantastic. Gets back in the Cyclone, and Whale's just dead as Uniboy sends him packing. Meta Falcon team have a train to catch. It's not towards playoffs, it's towards the fountain.
Yeah, and Duo's team have got to be cheering this. What a big turnaround for J-Team. I think they're just so much better in their teamfight coordination. They hit the go button from the side. They get the first target onto Whale, get double summoners. Everyone goes in, finishes off the main damage dealer on J-Team. And, you know, at the end of the day, I had a lot of questions about their draft. I felt like this was too safe, too passive. And J-Team just say, you know what? We can play this type of a draft because we're just better players. Because our coordination is just on point. We can survive the blow.
We'll be right. Denying playoffs from Meta Falcon team. J-Team take us in a 31-minute fiesta. Let's be real.
A big turnaround.
A turnaround. There you go. Played well from the later portion, but early game was all Meta Falcon teams, as you said. And it's disappointing because we were talking about Hong2 having his best game of the split. 665 linking up so nicely. And then MFT just throw it all to the wayside, and that hurts. That really hurts when you know they're probably going to be a playoff team, but not securing it today is always a worrisome trend when, as you said, Jewish team is still fighting for their angle.
The last three team fights from MFT really didn't have to go the way that they did. I think that's what we're sort of lamenting in this game. And I just feel like, you know, to break it down, to start from the first big one that went wrong, they just played a little bit greedy here. They wanted to get the face check punish against the Gwen while also being 4v5 and Hong2 having a bad teleport timing. They get completely blasted. I might be getting ahead of myself, but coming back into this draft, I actually really like MFT's draft. I think the setup for Sivir was incredibly smart here. I think they had a good reset composition. This is a comp that dominates objective fights earlier on. And for the most part, they did execute on the promises here. J-Team, this honestly feels like the draft from a previous patch, as you mentioned. I hope they're not going to draft like this entire week, because this is not going to work against most of our other teams.
And I don't feel like J-Team's a team I'd call, like, you know, all too boring drafting, right? We've had Kongyue play things like Vi, Kiana, We've had things like the Lysandra Talia, the Swain, come from Uniboy as well, even the Ari to make it exciting. Like the Twitch Yumi, I know we didn't like it, but still, they're not a stock standard. Hey, let's play Azir, Corki all the time and live out our 35-minute fantasy. Clement, this was a J team trying to get back and get into the swing of things. Looked a little bit out of touch, but still the J team that people expect, right? As you said, better players on the Rift against Meta Falcon team. I think is going to be enough for them today, especially since they are going to play Duish team later on. So, quick feel to the meta before today's done.
If I'm J team, I'm not terribly happy with the way that this game went. I see that they gave the enemy team way too many unnecessary opportunities early, contesting objectives that they had no business actually fighting. So, what I'm getting from this game is that J team still try to force the issue when they have a passive mid jungle. That's the lesson I'm getting right here. And I hope for their sake that they actually try to shift this strategy up. In my eyes, they have the best mid-jungle duo in the entire league. So I would actually rather just have them play more aggressive mid-jungle and try to control the reins of the game, take the reins of the game in their own hands, starting from those two positions.
I mean, the amount of times we've talked about Uniboy and Kongyue through this split is just incredible. I mean, Uniboy also had a really good game. I think Kongyue had later portion as well. A really good recovery from the early game. Driver had a rough time up the top lane. Of course, Rock, excuse me, used to just seeing Driver on Gwen, but Rock got absolutely blasted in the early game. Clement was like 1-5.
Yep.
But also came back into the game as well. As we look for the MVP, I don't know. Is it going to be Lil V? No, it's Kongyue, surprisingly. Here on the Wukong for the last couple of engages. It's pretty fair.
Yeah, the last team fight, he definitely showed up, got directly on top of Whale, bursted all of his summoners. And I would say for the rest of the game, I think Uniboy actually deserves my vote because he was able to disengage so many times. I think the first Herald should have gone a lot worse for J-Team, but because of that Emperor's Divide, he was able to keep them in the game here. I will still stick to my guns and say I would much rather see Kongyue and Uniboy playing the aggressive side of the matchup. I feel like that's something they're more comfortable with.
Dude,
they have more
I mean, Uniboy's champion pool and like the fact that Kongyue is this old school poppy player. I think there's so much between the mid jungle duo that we could look forward to. Hopefully for their makeup game against Duish team for game number 3 of tonight, we do see something a little bit better than that. J-Team get through more or less unscathed. They were already locked into playoffs, but moving up towards that top 3 bubble at the moment. Well, we look towards our next game, and we got to see if Frank Esports can deny Impunity too, right? Because Impunity are also looking for their opportunity like Meta Falcon team. But Frank Esports have been on a tear recently. We'll find out how it goes, though, right after this.